Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be sitting here telling you this, but I can't keep it inside anymore. My girlfriend stayed at her mom's best friend's house for 2 weeks, and I couldn't resist her teasing. What started as innocent visits turned into something that completely shattered my sense of right and wrong. I was just an average guy working a dead-end office job, coming home exhausted every day to my girlfriend who was always too busy with her own things. When her mom suggested she stay at Aunt Lisa's place, her best friend since college, because our apartment was getting renovated, I didn't think much of it. Lisa was 42, warm, confident, and always treated me like family. She lived alone after her divorce, and her house was big enough for both of them. I started dropping by every evening after work to see my girlfriend, and that's when the proximity began. The first few nights were normal. Lisa would greet me at the door with that soft vanilla and jasmine scent that seemed to cling to every room. She'd smile and say, "Come in, honey, you look tired." Her voice always had this gentle warmth, like she really saw how drained I was. Small things, her hand brushing mine when passing a cup of coffee, the way her silk robe would slip slightly off one shoulder when she reached for something on the counter. I told myself it was nothing. Just accidental. Just polite. But that night, as I left, her laughter echoed in my head like a song I couldn't shake. I sat in my car for a long minute, fingers tight on the steering wheel, breathing in the faint trace of her perfume that had somehow followed me. Why did that sound linger? Why did the memory of her shoulder make my chest feel tight? The next evening I told myself I was only going for my girlfriend. Nothing more. Lisa opened the door again, same soft smile, same scent wrapping around me like warm air. She was wearing a loose cardigan over a thin top, and when she turned to lead me inside, the fabric shifted just enough to show the delicate line of her collarbone. I looked away fast. My girlfriend was in the living room, scrolling on her phone, barely glancing up when I walked in. We sat together for a while, the three of us, talking about nothing important. Lisa's laugh came easy, low and genuine, and every time it did my eyes drifted to her. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way her fingers rested on the arm of the couch, so close to where my hand lay, an inch away. Maybe less. I could feel the heat from her skin without even touching. I kept thinking, she's my girlfriend's mom's best friend. This is wrong, she's practically family. But the thought only made the air between us feel heavier, like gravity pulling harder the more I tried to ignore it. When it was time to leave, Lisa walked me to the door. The hallway light was dim. She stood there, close enough that I caught the warmth of her breath as she said goodnight. Her eyes held mine a second longer than they should have. "Doctor safe, honey," she whispered, and the word honey felt different tonight's after, almost secret. I drove home with my heart beating too loud, the vanilla and jasmine still clinging to my jacket. I told myself it was just tiredness, just imagination. But when I closed my eyes in bed later, all I could see was the way her robe had slipped, the way her hand had almost brushed mine again. The following night I arrived a little earlier than usual. My girlfriend was upstairs on a call. Lisa met me at the door wearing that same silk robe, tied loosely at the waist. She looked tired too, but in a beautiful way, like the day had softened her edges. "She's busy," she said quietly, stepping aside to let me in. Our arms brushed as I passed. But the contact sent a slow heat crawling up my skin. We stood in the kitchen while she poured me a glass of water. The counter was between us, but somehow it felt too narrow. She leaned forward slightly to hand me the glass, and I saw the faint rise and fall of her chest with each breath. I forgot how to breathe for a moment. My fingers closed around the cold glass, but all I felt was the lingering warmth where her hand had been. She smiled, small and knowing, like she could read the storm starting inside me. "You're always so thoughtful, coming here every day," she murmured. Her voice was low, almost too intimate for the quiet kitchen. I wanted to step back. I wanted to step closer. The pull was already there, quiet, insistent, dangerous. And then she said something that made everything tilt. "You know it's nice having someone look at me the way you do." Her words hung in the air, soft and trembling. And I stood there frozen, heart hammering, the scent of vanilla and jasmine flooding my lungs as the distance between us felt suddenly, impossibly small. I stood there in the kitchen, the glass still cold in my palm, her words echoing between us like a match struck in the dark. It's nice having someone look at me the way you do." My throat tightened. I wanted to laugh it off, say something normal, but my voice wouldn't come. Instead, I just nodded, eyes locked on hers, feeling the air thicken until every breath felt stolen. By the end of that first week, I was inventing reasons to stay longer. My girlfriend would yawn and head upstairs early, murmuring goodnight without really looking back. Lisa and I would end up in the living room, light slow, talking about nothing and everything. Her divorce, the quiet nights that stretched too long, how my endless deadlines and the way work left me hollow. Her eyes would rest on me a second longer than necessary, soft and searching, and I'd catch myself tracing the gentle curve of her neck when she tilted her head to laugh. I kept telling myself this was wrong. She was my girlfriend's mom's best friend, practically family. The kind of person you're supposed to respect, not notice the way her fingers played idly with the hem of her dress, brushing the fabric against her knee. But the pull grew heavier each evening, like gravity tightening its grip the harder I tried to step away. One night she asked me to grab a book from the high shelf in the hallway. I stepped behind her, reaching up, and for one endless second my chest brushed lightly against her back. The thin fabric did nothing to hide the soft warmth of her body. I froze, heart hammering, then handed her the book and stepped back too quickly, smiling that small knowing smile, and thanked me like nothing had happened, but something had. Alone in my car, I cowled at Dr. Straight. The memory looped in my mind, dangerous and vivid. I told myself it was nothing, just an accidental touch. Yet my thoughts wandered anyway, pulling me into territory I had no right to enter. "Chess, practically family," the voice in my head shouted. This would shatter everything. Still the ache lingered, quiet but insistent, refusing to fade. I tried to stay away after that. 2 full days I forced myself to keep distance. Texting my girlfriend, I was swamped with work. The emptiness that settled in was unbearable. Every quiet moment I closed my eyes, and there she was again, the faint trace of her perfume on the air, the low sound of her laugh, the impossible softness it felt through that thin layer of fabric. I paced my apartment, arguing with myself. This would destroy my relationship. This would betray everyone who still trusted me. The guilt sat heavy in my chest, cold and sharp. Yet the loneliness I'd been carrying for months felt lighter whenever I remembered her eyes on me. The spark shed lit refused to die. It flickered warmer than the shame, whispering that maybe just being near her was the worst thing. I wrestled with it constantly, 1 minute swearing I'd never go back, the next already planning the next excuse to walk through that door. On the 3rd evening I gave in. I told myself it was only for my girlfriend. Nothing more. But when Lisa opened the door, her smile was the same soft welcome, her scent wrapping around me like invisible arms. We ended up in the living room again. Girlfriend already upstairs. The conversation flowed easy, yet every pause felt loaded. Her gaze would linger, and mine would drift to the way her fingers rested on the couch cushion, inches from where my hand lay. So close I could almost feel the heat radiating between us without any contact at all. I kept repeating the warning in my head. "Chess, my girlfriend's mom's best friend, this is wrong." The thought only made the space between us feel smaller, more charged, like the storm was gathering right there on the couch. Every shared silence pulled tighter. Every accidental brush of eyes sent another ripple through me. And the longer I stayed, the louder the hunger grew, even as the guilt clawed harder at the edges, refusing to let me pretend this was still innocent. By the time I drove back over there again, the excuses had already settled in, like old friends. We're just 2 adults sharing late-night conversations, nothing more. My girlfriend was buried in her own deadlines anyway, barely noticing when I slipped out. And Lisa, she seemed so lonely in that big house, the way her eyes lit up when I walked in. Maybe I was just giving her a little company, making her feel seen after years of quiet evenings alone. Each rationalization stacked neatly on the last, smoothing out the sharp edges of guilt until the pull toward her door felt almost kind. Even her vanilla jasmine scent, drifting from the hallway as I stepped inside, wrapped around me like comfort now instead of warning. I told myself it was harmless. Harmless the way her laugh lingered a second too long when I joked about work. Harmless how her hand would rest near mine on the armrest, close enough that the air between us hummed. My girlfriend trusted me with these visits. After all, trusted the family friend who'd known her since she was small. The thought twisted something inside me, but I pushed it down. Just talking. Just helping. Just helping. The loneliness I'd carried for months felt lighter here, and was that worth a few extra hours? On the night, the house was still. My girlfriend had drifted off upstairs after a long day, her breathing steady through the thin walls. Lisa and I settled on the couch for an old movie, the kind with slow jazz underscoring every scene. That same sultry track from her playlist began to play, low and heavy, stretching the minutes like warm honey. She leaned forward to adjust the remote, and her thigh pressed full against mine, firm, unmoving. Neither of us shifted away. The heat from her skin seeped through the thin fabric of her lounge pants, matching the sudden rush in my chest. In the flickering dim light our eyes caught. Held, my hand moved before my mind could catch up, resting on her knee, then sliding slowly upward along the curve of her leg. The first kiss came hesitant, our lips barely brushing, trembling with the weight of everything unsaid. Then hunger took over. Her breath warmed against my mouth, quickened uneven, and her fingers curled into my shirt, gripping tight as if afraid I might pull back. The softness of her, the weight seemed to collapse around us. I was lost. That was the moment everything tipped past return, the line dissolving under the quiet storm we'd both been feeding. After that, the days blurred into stolen fragments of heat and secrecy. Quick touches in the kitchen while my girlfriend showered upstairs, her fingers grazing my wrist as she passed me a mug, sending electricity racing under my skin. Stolen kisses in the narrow hallway, bodies pressed close for mere seconds, her vanilla jasmine scent clinging to my collar long after she stepped away. When the house fell quiet, we indulged longer, whispers and closeness that filled the hollow spaces I hadn't even known were there. The pleasure crashed over me like waves I couldn't outrun, making me feel alive. Desired, awake in ways years with my girlfriend had slowly dulled. She would lean in sometimes and murmur how I made her feel young again, wanted in a way she thought had faded. Her voice soft against my ear, breath warm. I told myself we were simply easing each other's loneliness to people finding light where there had been none. Every time that familiar scent enveloped me, the guilt retreated further into shadow, leaving only the ache and the craving. Yet beneath it all the war raged on. This shouldn't be happening. Not with her, not like this. Still my hands sought her nearness, my pulse quickened at the sound of her footsteps, and the justifications grew quieter each time we found another hidden moment. One evening, as rain tapped softly against the windows, we lingered in the living room after the others had gone up. Her hand rested on my arm, her hand rested on my arm, thumb tracing idle circles that burned through my sleeve. I turned toward her, the almost touch of our faces pulling me under again, when a creak sounded from the stairs above. The creak froze us both. Her hand slipped from my arm like it had been burned, and we pulled back just as my girlfriend appeared at the bottom of the stairs, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Cowled in sleep, she mumbled, glancing between us with that half-smile that usually warmed me. Tonight it landed like ice in my stomach. I forced a laugh, something about the movie running long, but my voice cracked on the words. Lisa stood quickly, smoothing her shirt, her cheeks flushed in the low light. She offered to make tea, anything to fill the sudden thick silence that pressed down on all three of us. Days after that, the tension only grew sharper. My girlfriend started noticing the late nights, the way it'd linger even after helping with whatever small task it invented as an excuse. One evening she curled against me on our couch at home and said it lightly, almost teasing, "You seem to like spending more time with Aunt Lisa than with me lately." The words hit like cold water rushing over my skin. I kissed her forehead and muttered something about family obligations, but inside everything twisted. The guilt I'd buried came roaring back, mixed with a fresh panic that clawed at my throat. What if she saw? What if she already suspected the way Lisa's vanilla jasmine scent sometimes clung faintly to my clothes? From Lisa. I opened it under the table, heart slamming against my ribs, and there it was, a photo she never should have sent, taken in the soft light of her bedroom, her expression soft and inviting in a way that made my breath catch in my palms sweat. I deleted it instantly, but the image burned behind my eyes. My girlfriend glanced over, asking if everything was okay. I nodded too quickly. the secret suddenly feeling like a live wire between all of us, ready to spark and burn everything down. Later, after she had finally gone to bed and the house grew quiet again, I found myself drifting downstairs. Lisa was already in the kitchen, standing by the counter in the dim glow of the overhead light, her arms wrapped around herself. When she saw me, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "We should stop," she whispered, voice trembling like the last leaf in autumn wind. It's getting too close. I can't keep pretending it's nothing when it feels like everything." Inches from her, the pull between us still magnetic even now, my mind split in two, one part screaming that she was right, that I was risking the life it built, the trust of someone who loved me without knowing how deeply it betrayed it. The other part, the hungrier one, remembered the way her breath had warmed my neck, the quiet surrender in her touch that made the loneliness disappear. I reached out, not quite touching, my fingers hovering near hers on the cool countertop. "I know," I said, barely above a breath, but slowing down. "Maybe that's all we can manage right now. I don't think I can let go completely. Not yet." She nodded slowly, a single tear slipping free. That night I lay beside my girlfriend, listening to her steady breathing, and the reflection settled over me like a weight I couldn't shake. I had crossed a line drawn in something deeper than sand, one that could never be redrawn clean again. Part of me didn't even want to. The connection with Lisa had tasted too real, filled cracks I hadn't admitted were there, even as the guilt gnawed deeper with every passing hour. So that's my confession. I cowed resist her teasing, and now am living with the consequences every single day, caught between two worlds that feel like they're slowly pulling me apart. Do you think I'm wrong for what I did? Or would you have done the same in my place, when the warmth felt like the only thing keeping the cold away? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I really need to know if you want me to tell you the more explicit details of those secret nights, like exactly what happened when we finally had the house to ourselves. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll share even deeper in the next one. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you don't judge me too harshly. Even now, when the house is quiet and the scent of vanilla and jasmine drifts through my memories, I wonder if slowing down will ever be enough, or if the ache will just keep calling me back.